Hello everyone, welcome to Dnyanadeep Academy. So this is our new initiative for geography optional in which we are going to discuss daily one or two questions. With this you will understand how you are supposed to write answers for geography optional. Other than that, you will also understand how to prepare for geography optional and how you are supposed to make your notes so that you are able to revise all these things when you go for your final examination. So let us start and see what questions do we have for today. So first and foremost, we have one question from Geography of India. So I'll just briefly tell you topic. So at this moment, we are discussing population and settlement from paper 1. Along with that population and settlement from paper 1, we are also discussing cultural settings from paper 2, where again we have similar type of things, right? So we have population and settlement in paper 1, and when it comes to population of India, we have that particular part in paper 2. Point number 7, that is cultural setting. So we are how we are approaching this particular part, understand that we are not separating two papers, we are combining both of the paper, and wherever there are overlaps we are going to discuss all of them together. Now when it comes to this question, this question is asking, analyze the recent trends in growth and density of population of India and evaluate the socio-economic and environmental problems generated by them. Now just understand one part in this question, what all you are supposed to identify. So you are supposed to talk about the trends, fine. Trends of what? So trends of growth and density, fine. So these are the trends you are supposed to highlight or identify, and then you also have to identify the socio-economic and environmental problems which are coming out of this. Now understand one thing. If I go for introduction, so can I define anything here? So in paper 2, if this question needs to be asked, this is a PYQ anyway, this question will be asked in paper 2 only, and when it comes to the questions of paper 2, there is less likelihood of defining anything. So in this particular question, I really do not have anything to define. So how I am going to approach introduction? So I will give some recent population data, be it regarding growth of India's population, be it regarding density of India's population. Other than that, this data can come from, let us say, World Bank. You can give census data. You can also quote some data from United Nations Development Program. So time and again, these bodies, these institutes keep publishing data related to population of world or population of India. So while you are preparing current affairs, keep watch on all these things and accommodate those particular facts and figures in your notes, fine. So that is something you are supposed to do on a daily basis. So that is how I am going to introduce. Other than that, there is one more way in which we can introduce, since we are talking about the problems, socio-economic or environmental problems. Other way of introducing could be this also. I can also go for this introduction. So either of these is fine. My simple rule when it comes to introduction is, while we are reading introduction, we should be able to understand what question has been asked. Okay. So unless you understand that question from introduction, your introduction is not sort of a good introduction. Okay. So if I talk about either of these, anyway, I am going to link towards the question, and that is a good introduction, I would say. Now, moving on to next part. Here I will talk about recent trends of growth of population, and then I will go for density, and after that I will talk about problems. So when it comes to recent trends, so I'll talk about growth rate, I'll talk about total fertility rate, what are the variations in total fertility rate. Now when I say variations in total fertility rate, look at the total fertility rate of northern India, look at the total fertility rate of southern India. So I have some variations there. At the same time, there are temporal variations. So you will talk about some spatial variations as well as some temporal variations. Now look at the terminology. Time and again, I'll tell you, when it comes to geography as a subject, so their answers in terms of content are not going to be much different as compared to GS and optional. So if you compare content of GS and optional, there will be like 80-90% of the content is going to be the same. So what is going to change when it comes to geography optional answer? So you just have to use some terminologies from optional. So here I will talk about, let's say there is some spatial variations or temporal variations when it comes to various demographic parameters of India. So you will have to write these terms. Unless you write these terms, it does not look like geography optional answer. Fine. Now I'll also talk about some specific data of socio-economic group wise growth, rural versus urban growth. That is something new trend which is coming up. Now while I talk about the growth and then I go back to paper 1. So I'll just give you one more tip here when it comes to writing answers for geography optional. If you are writing something in paper 2, try to find if there is any theory which can be quote here from paper 1. So in paper 1, I have one theory, that is demographic transition theory. Okay. And while I talk about the growth of population in India, I will talk about some demographic transition theory points where I will say ki India is in so and so stage of demographic transition. So at this moment, when it comes to demographic transition of India since 2015, now these are some preliminary data, early data, which is suggesting that India is in 4th stage of demographic transition. So once I have quote all these facts and figure, then I will talk about the demographic transition which has occurred in India, right? So that is the point. Suddenly your GS answer has now become optional answer. So these are the finer things which you need to keep in mind. Moving forward, let's talk about density. So you will talk about regions of dense population. I'll talk about various states where I have population density high, and now once I have put this data, I will mention geographical factors which are responsible for these areas to be still dense population region. Okay, so again here I am introducing core geography, here I am introducing paper 1 of geography. Then I'll also talk about how density of urban area is increasing. I'll then talk about how urbanization is changing in India, right? So that is something you need to highlight because that is a very recent phenomenon, contemporary phenomenon. Then there is a point of socio-economic problems. Now when it comes to socio-economic problems, that is something everyone knows. There will be some point from societal problems, there will be some economic problems. Now you are not supposed to write merely these problems. You will also have to quote some keywords. Here I have made use of one keyword, that is demographic dividend versus demographic disaster, and then I can talk about demographic disaster, which is sometimes can become a problem for India. And here again I am using concepts of paper 1. Terminologies, keywords are going to be very important. Then we have some problem related to manpower or economic growth, so on and so forth. So you can quote all these problem. Finally, when it comes to optional paper, make use of the term climate change as much as possible, right? So whenever we are talking about anything, any phenomenon these days, you will have to talk about how climate change is happening, how global warming is taking place, and all these things are anyway interlinking with one or the other thing and affecting our life. So that is how I was going to approach this question. When it comes to conclusion, you can give some way forward type of conclusion, and you can say what India should be doing here onwards, what should be our strategy when it comes to future. Also you can say how India should look at its national population policy. So these are some good ways in which you can conclude. So these are the guidelines I have provided you for this question. Moving on to next question. Now next question is again very static question. It is from UPSC PYQ 2002. So it is asking account for the present distribution pattern of population density in India. Now this question is like what we can say, this question is not going to die. So in any year, if I ask this question, you will find some or the other new trends. So if this was asked in 2002, coming to 2024, we have something or the else to say on this particular part. Again, when it comes to introduction, I am taking some generic approach, right? Because I don't want to reveal any data. You can quote any data, you can say these parts of India are dense, these parts are not dense. That way also you can introduce, but anyway I'm going to say that particular part in later sections of my answer, so I'm not going to say that here. So I'm taking just a generic approach when it comes to introduction. I'm talking about that India's density shows some complex patterns, and the reason for these complex patterns is geographical as well as socio-cultural. Okay, now here I'm making it more look like a geography answer. I will further, as I go deeper into the answer, I will talk about geographical factors. Okay, now question was asking you account for the present distribution. You just have to give the distribution pattern. At the same time, you are supposed to provide reasons for that distribution. So I have said distribution pattern. I have given how there are low density areas, high density areas, and what are the fundamental reasons for those low and high density areas. While I write this particular answer, I am specifically focusing on urban areas as well. So whenever you are writing answers, just try to find if you can have some trends when it comes to northern parts of India or southern parts of India. If there is a trend of east versus west, if there is a trend of rural versus urban. So if you try to identify these type of trends, your answer looks more like geography optional answer. Okay, so that is something I'm going to write. Then population density distribution, I have just given you specific areas along with the reasons for that. So I have some mountainous region, some water resource scarce region, then I have hilly or forested region. So these are some of the reasons you are supposed to quote when it comes to the population distribution of India. So that is how you are supposed to approach this answer. So first you say what are the factors, and then you say according to those factors what are the population density regions. Now to end this particular part, you are supposed to draw a map. Without map, this answer cannot be complete. Okay, so you will have to draw a map of India, show which areas of India are denser, which are less dense, and accordingly you'll get more idea or more clarity, or you're presenting more clarity. Now hardly examiner is going to read into your answer. He is more interested in maps and in diagrams. So that is the way you have to present all the data. Moving to conclusion, again some way forward type of conclusion can be given here, where you will say how we are going to have challenges in these densely populated areas and what all can be done. Again, for last question we have made use of national population policy. Similarly, you can make use of the same policy time and again. So all these factors you need to figure in when it comes to writing this answer. So we'll see you in next answer or next question. So thank you everyone. Have a good time.